history of Kelly Ripa's relationships with Ryan Seacrest and other co-hosts from Live. Kelly Ripa has been a fixture behind the desk at Live for more than 20 years, beginning with a 4-month stint as Regis Philbin's temporary co-host before subsequently collaborating with stars like Ryan Seacrest and Michael Strahan. After Philbin left in November 2011, there was a constant stream of temporary co-hosts, including Jerry Seinfeld, Neil Patrick Harris, Michael Bublé, Seth Meyers, Mary J. Blige, and Andy Cohen, before producers chose Strahan as Ripa's replacement. Less than 4 years were spent there before he left for Good Morning America. Before Ripa's close friend, Ryan Seacrest, was given the permanent job in 2017, Strahan's departure opened the door for another round of guest co-hosts, including Jimmy Kimmel, Jussie Smollett, Anderson Cooper, and even a Pennsylvania high school teacher. In the years that followed, there was a lot of focus on Ripa's professional partnership with Philbin, which she discussed in her just-released memoir, Live Wire. Similar friction existed with Strahan, and although she didn't include it in her book, a source told Ed in April 2016 that she was blindsided by the news of Strahan's departure. In January 2020, Strahan would admit to the New York Times Magazine that the announcement should have been handled more effectively. But when Seacrest left, the reaction was very different. Ripa praised Seacrest for making it through 6 New York winters and promised to be by him forever. After Mark Consuelos, Ripa's husband, was announced as the new Live co-host, Ed looked back at Ripa's history with her previous co-hosts. Following Kathie Lee Gifford's departure on July 28, 2000, Ripa was one of the numerous famous people who guest co-hosted with Philbin. Beginning in November 2000, Ripa participated in a 4-month-long audition process before securing the gig on February 5, 2001. After nearly 30 years behind the microphone, Philbin left on November 18, 2011, while she continued as his co-host. Philbin passed away in 2020, and Ripa struggled not to cry as she paid tribute to him on the first Live show following his death. Even though we all know that some things are inevitable as we get older, Regis was one of the ones we all had faith would find a way to avoid them. She said, wiping away her tears, I suppose that was not in the cards. He will be laid to rest at his beloved Notre Dame, which I have no doubt means the world to him. Many people, including you, Ryan, have contacted me and told me you're the first person I thought of, but I must admit, the first people I thought of were Joy, Johanna, and JJ, his daughters. I first considered the gals, and then Kathie Lee came to mind. Those were, as I frequently state, Regis' fundamental principles. She continued, he had this amazing relationship with Kathie Lee and of course his wife and daughters, who are about my age. They are 1 year younger than me. We once discussed what it was like to have a humorous father. Hardly Regis Philbin funny, but my dad is amusing nonetheless. You are humorous because your father is funny. You just find it amusing. It helps you to realize how absurd things may be, since we all assumed or imagined he would, or should, or that somehow God would give an unique ticket for him to live forever. I immediately thought of them and what it must feel like. Ripa claimed in an interview with Ed that she experienced enormous respect, admiration and reverence for Regis, and she also explained why she addressed the forced relationship with her one-time co-host. Like the majority of the audience, I had the impression that I knew him, but it is really bizarre to expect 2 individuals from such disparate generations to form some sort of forced connection when they had never met. The way I characterize it is that it was only placed on one individual. She spoke. Ripa described their relationship as a very professional working relationship in the book, a description she didn't anticipate drawing so much attention to. That used to be a celebrated thing, but in this weird, gonzo, tabloid, let's pit the man against the woman world we live in, somehow that was strange and I was vilified, she said. That's why I address it in the book. We had a professional working relationship and that's what we had, and that's okay, because we are from different generations, we had different friend groups and we had different professional backgrounds. After Philbin passed away, Ripa spoke candidly about his life in an ABC News 20/20 program, recalling the lessons she had picked up from the great performer. The main lesson Ripa believes she learned from the 11 years she spent with him was the importance of being yourself. You cannot be one person in front of the camera and another when the lights go out or the audience leaves. You must be authentic. In addition to his gift of being himself entirely and making everyone else the star of the show, she continued, his love of people will be his legacy. Although Ripa didn't discuss her relationship with Strahan in her book Live Wire, a source previously told Ed that she was blindsided by Strahan's abrupt resignation in 2016. Ripa called in sick the following several days after Strahan and ABC failed to inform her of his plan to leave the show, and when she returned, she spoke about the need for communication, consideration, and most importantly, respect in the workplace. She also told the crowd that after working for the network for 26 years, she had earned the right to take a break in order to collect thoughts. In May 2016, Ripa told people that she was eager for Strahan to take on the new role, but added that it can be difficult to find a co-host with the right chemistry and camaraderie and trust that she and Strahan shared. It doesn't come down from the sky, she said. It requires a lot of work and a collective discussion, she said. On Strahan's move to GMA, Ripa told People that while she could understand the decision, she hoped that more thought had been given to other factors. I understand. Our anticipation is for Michael. He desired that position, and it's wonderful for him. I truly believe that it is a fantastic fit, she bragged. Yet nobody realized that it has a significant impact on a whole other group of people since we now need to locate another outstanding individual. Following a few weeks of awkward banter between him and Ripa, Strahan's exit was moved up from September to May. Disney, a BC television group president Ben Sherwood later admitted to The Hollywood Reporter that mistakes were made in terms of handling Strahan's departure. Strahan's admission to Time magazine in January 2019 that he hadn't spoken to Ripa in a long time further highlighted their conflict following his departure. I discovered from all that transpired with it that you can't persuade people to like you, he remarked. A year later, Strahan discussed his experience as Ripa's co-host in detail in a New York Times magazine piece. If one player is preoccupied with himself, no matter how many brilliant players you put on a team, it won't succeed, he stated. I've also had television gigs where I arrived and thought, wow, I didn't realize I was meant to be a sidekick. I believed I was en route to when it was mentioned that he and Ripa didn't have the best relationship near the tail end of his time at Live. Strahan said he remained the same person I was from day one and that what he would not do is alter my attitude for somebody else's. When it was time to go, it was time to go, he added. Certain things that were going on behind the scenes just caught up. Ripa and Seacrest. Seacrest had been one of the many celebs to guest co-host with Ripa. The network announced in May 2017 that he would succeed Strahan as Ripa's next permanent co-host, and he made his debut on Sept. 5, 2017. But if it had been up to Seacrest, he would have joined Ripa long before 2017. After Philbin announced his departure in 2011, Seacrest reportedly inquired about taking his place as the replacement co-host. Do you think there's any chance that, if this goes down, we could work together? He asked when he contacted me. In an interview with Variety in October 2020, Ripa said that the executives were met with considerable hesitation about the combination notion. The fact that Regis and I didn't actually have a connection was what the program enjoyed about us, according to Ripa. They liked it when two people got together, had breakfast, and just let things happen. Ryan and I are so close and have always been so close that the network and studio are afraid we could work together. Et spoke with Ripa and Seacrest on their 5-year anniversary as co-hosts, and their witty banter was fully on display when asked what they wanted to see for themselves and the show over the next 5 years. Seacrest joked he wanted 2 inches of height, prompting Ripa to chime in, saying, "Our wants are not really show-related." Back in September, years after Seacrest became the co-host, Ripa was on Watch What Happens Live with Andy Cohen, where viewers asked who she would have picked as co-host if Seacrest hadn't landed the gig. It's so much a deeper discussion, and it has so little, actually, to do with me, Ripa said of the selection process, which took a year before Seacrest was chosen. Referencing her longtime friends and fellow TV personalities, Andy Cohen and Anderson Cooper, Ripa said, "I love my ACs, of course, but they have jobs." She also mentioned her husband, Mark Consuelos. "My 1100, I love, but he had a job too," she said on WWHL. At the time, he was working in California and then in Vancouver. Not anymore. After it was announced Consuelos would replace Seacrest as the next permanent co-host, Ripa took to Instagram and quipped about the next phase in their relationship, writing, "And at Insta Sulos welcome home," or to the contractual obligation phase of our relationship.